right. Well, let's roll. Let's get this show on the road. I am excited about the conversation today. How about you, Rhonda?
I'm very excited. Thank you so much for having me today. I cannot wait to share with others the gift of themselves. So ready. I'm so ready.
Me too. This is exciting. So, if you all are not aware, this afternoon on this live at 5, we are doing and coming together and just having a conversation about the gift of you. We want you to recharge, refocus, and prepare for 2025. It's about to be live in 25. And so that's why we're live at 5. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I am Sabreen Mutawally, the founder, CEO, lead strategist for Unchained Eduabilities, where we help educators to unchain any hidden talents and bring them to fruition. We want to help them to really empower them to walk in the maximum potential as educators. And with me on today is my girl, my sis Rhonda. So I'm going to turn it over to her because she's going to lead this session on today.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Sabreen. My name is Rhonda Johnson. I am the vision consultant and CEO of Limitless Empowerment with Rhonda Jay. And so I go into my story. I don't have a real quick synopsis of what I do, but my mother was a teacher, and I saw the stress as a child and growing up that she went through as a teacher, and how she did not have any resources or any supporters back in the day. So I really don't feel like that was really put into the curriculum. However, in my capacity as working in the United Way as a campaign associate, I had the pleasure, absolute pleasure, of going to the schools and talking to the schools about raising funds. And I noticed in that we're asking as a community for teachers to dig deeper to help us. But I started to think about, who are we asking and what exactly are we asking them to do? Well, we're asking them to dig deeper. And I'm like, they dig deep enough. And so that kind of made me pivot, right? That made me think about how how can you ask something from an empty vessel, where there's so much expected of teachers, the community expectations, the expectations with children, the expectations of parents, so many expectations, and yet nobody really there to take the temperature of those teachers. So that got me really thinking. I was like, I lived with the teacher, and how like I said, I saw the stress she was going through. So I I moved into that because I want teachers to move from a sense of survival to thriving, and a sense of being out of control to empowerment. So that's what I'm here for. And that's what made us come together and talk about the gift of you, and taking this time that you're given, this vacation time, because a lot of people, just you just want to lay out and rest. Just finally get a chance to rest. And we want you to do that, but we also want you to recharge, refocus, and prepare for 2025. So that's what I do.
It's exciting. So, what tips do you have for us? Like what should we be doing in these 2 weeks for some of us, and maybe less than 2 weeks? During this time, being intentional about really resting, not just sleeping, but actually having rest. Because I think people unfortunately get the two mixed up, or they try to make one the other thing. People think just because you're sleeping that you're resting, and that is true in a sense, but that doesn't necessarily define what actual and true rest is. So help us with that. We need some help. Us educators need help.
Yeah. Yes. And that's what I'm here for, to help. And first of all, I do want to thank you, educators, for what you do. It may go unsaid, it is not gone unnoticed. And I want to be the first to thank you for what you do. We know that I know that it's hard. I know that it's difficult putting on your best face every day, whether you feel like it or not, and having to teach children who want to be there or not, and to have the lack of support that you do. So I first and foremost want to thank you. And this is my way of giving back. So on to my tips of the gift of you. First and foremost, putting yourself first without guilt. Now, I think as women in general, teachers in particular, there's this sense of putting yourself first as guilt, makes you feel guilty, makes you feel bad. However, what I'm talking about now is during this time, so you got 2 weeks, I know you got family, kids, everybody is pulling at you, is to schedule personal time, intentional personal time. And how that looks like for me. So I want you to take this as some ideas and some tips for you. I like to draw. That is ways of taking intentional time to sit down, get the things I need, get the vision I'm trying to get, and dedicate that time to it. For you, it may be crochet, it could be knitting, it could be talking to a friend, but uh, it's something that recharges you. That's the whole point. So find that something that you need to recharge you. It may be something you've been putting off, right? You haven't had the time to do, pick it up again. Like I said, something creative is what I do. You can also journal. So that's a way of being intentional and putting yourself first and putting how, especially with journaling, like everybody else, I'm sure, teachers, feelings aren't, nobody want to feel feelings. Okay. Feelings can be frustrating, but like if you use journaling, making that intentional, you can journal about those feelings in a safe, judgment-free way. So that's my first tip, is for us to put ourselves first by making intentional time to do something we enjoy. And if you don't know what that is, figure it out. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be time consuming. It just has to be something that recharges and refuels you. Um, I gotta write stuff down, Sabrina. I ain't one of them
It's
people.
fine.
I want to be. That's
That's
my goal.
good.
That's my goal in 2025, girl. But if I don't write it down, we'll be here all
I'm
day.
with you. I am like that too. I gotta have my notes. I gotta have
Yes,
my notes. And it helps just keep me on track. So,
it
but
does.
yeah, that was good. I really like that. And I'm a creative too.
Hmm.
But journaling is definitely my thing. I just like to
Yes,
write it down because I actually like to go back and reference it, especially
yes.
if it's something that I've prayed about and to be going to go
Hmm.
back and to say, wow, it happened. Y'all excuse my dog. It happened, and that's exciting. It just gives you a reference point, and it actually encourages you to
Yes.
know that trouble don't last always,
Hmm.
and that thing that you were worried about, you were carrying, that you've been praying about, look how it manifested. So yep.
Yes. And along with that, thank you for for digging a little deeper into journaling. Another thing I'm learning to do is a gratitude journal as well. And I've added on top of that enough. So
That's
how
good.
I do
Good.
my journal is lists, meaning one, two, the sequence of that helps me dig a little deeper. So what I do is I'm grateful and enough, and then this happened. I'm grateful and enough, and then that happened, to emphasize and really pour into myself that I believe that I'm enough. It's one thing to hear others say it, but it's another thing to hear you say it to yourself. So when you go back, like Sabrina says, and you read it, you are also taking in, not only are you reflecting on what happen, and then you can say, okay, I stayed the course, or I saw that through. You can also begin that process of repeating to yourself, I'm grateful and I am enough, while you do that as well. So that's something I encourage you to do as well. It doesn't have to be however Sabrine does her journals, is her how she does it. How I do mine is how I do mine. Yours can be free. It could be just a word. It could be done on a voice recorder on your phone. The whole point and process is to get those thoughts and feelings out as a way of being intentional. Yeah. So I'm going to
That's
move
good.
on to number two. So number two kind of is a tie on to number one, is really getting that you have to pour into yourself first. I know that as teachers and educators, there's an expectation. Sorry, there's an expectation that the kids are first, or whatever administration asks of you, that comes first. But there is an understanding, at least I have it. So my background is in mental health. So my understanding is that if we're pouring from an empty cup, right? Because we keep trying. Us women, we keep trying to be empty, empty. You know? Okay, that's where feelings of that burnout, and that where's my place in this, that lack of control. And it also naturally, so all these things are natural, will lead to a sense of like, why am I here? Why am I staying in this career? And so what I also want you to do during this time is to reconnect you with that dream of teaching, reconnect you with that younger self, that the vision that got you into teaching in the first place. And let that be part of what fills you up as well, along with the journaling, along with being intentional with your time, finding those things that feed you, because it's so important as we move into 2025 that we keep that vision alive so that we can build on it, right? So here's my thing also, to find out if this is where you want to be. And there's no judgment. There's no judgment in saying, okay, maybe this isn't where I want to be. That's fine. But if you do want to stay in education, that we build on that dream that you have, not on what's going on now, right? But we build on that dream. We put reality into it, right? All right. So we all have a reason why we got into something, and then life starts happening. It's like, man, why'd I do this? But it's because we're so passionate, we're into what we do, we pour it out, and we're empty, right? That's why, you know, they give you 2 weeks. I know you need 2 years to recharge, but 2 weeks, this is what we start off with now. So in these 2 weeks, we concentrate on ways to put ourselves first. So that's what I was saying before. That's what I was saying. The first one and second one tie in together. You find those things to recharge and refuel you. But I'll add into that in a journaling. So here's a journaling prompt. I like having people journal. What got you into teaching? What sparked that dream? Let's bring it to the light, right? Because these things play in the background unconsciously, right? And sometimes it just becomes remote control, like blah, 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 blah. But in these next 2 weeks, take the time to dust those memories off and write them down, right? Because things change, we change. And sometimes those memories have to change with us. But let's uncover that and see why you became a teacher in the first place. So that's the second one, recharging, pouring into your cup first. You want me to go on to number 3 or?
I'm sorry, I was trying to get off on mute because you was teaching me. Yeah, I cannot agree with you even the more. I mean, when you're talking about really pouring back into yourself and then going back to the core of your why. I read a book and I can't remember the title of the book at this time, but when I do, y'all, I'll make sure I drop it under this video because I'm going to make sure I repost this. It was talking about getting down to your why, but it was like 7 layers of why, and really going,
Yeah,
you ask why, and then you respond, and then you ask why to that response, and then you ask why to the next response, and you just kept going till you really get to the core value of the why it is that you're doing what you're doing. And I mean, it's just so profound that you said they're taking this time to really reflect, why am I doing this? Like, why did I get into teaching in the first place? And why am I staying? What is it every day that makes me get up and say, okay, I gotta go in. And I love what you said. We're always taught the students first. And yes, students should be the center of everything that we do in education, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. And so you really have to be intentional about filling your cup up. And so, yeah, I'm excited. So yeah, give us number 3. Like, wow, just the first two to recap. Can you recap number 1 and 2 before you
absolutely.
give us number 3?
Oh yeah, y'all want me turning pages. Uh, Putting yourself first without guilt, and then pouring into your cup first. Right. So I mean, I go on and on, but again, it's the without guilt component that we're talking about, to do it as we should, right? I get to a whole bunch of stuff just because I talk to a lot of women of many races, and it's the same thing. It's said differently, it's done differently, it's interpreted differently. But the whole thing is that if you do not give to others, then you are not worthy, right? So you get your love from what you give to others. And it's like we got to reverse that, because we end up being burned out and the people don't love us anyway. I mean, not like we think they should, right? Okay. But yeah, so and to me that's doubly so in education and what I call the service field, such as therapy, counseling, where there's a giving out. The giving out is expected, and the giving out is expected at such a high level that if you don't and if you can't, then it's like, I don't know. but it's an unrealistic expectation of others to us, and then from ourselves to ourselves. So to me, a part of this, part of the vision for 2025 is redefining what your 100% is, your level of giving is. If it's 80, it's 80. If it's 56, it's 56. And that's what the world gets. Because again, pouring from that empty cup, what you doing? You can't shake it, you can't wring it out. It's not going to happen. And we end up with, I'll try not to get too deep with it. We only got a certain amount of time, but we end up with a what I call like an epidemic of anxiety, depression, burnout that affects everybody. So like I was saying, when I was a kid, not a child and a teenager, the burnout that my mother felt affected me. So that's all I'm saying about that. Because I go on.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
No, I want you to expound on that, because I think we really need to really like get a better grasp and understanding, because some of us need to sit with that.
Okay. So I just remember my mother having a lot of like she ended up, I think of course there may have been a genetic disposition, but she ended up really developing high blood pressure. No, and my mother was the type, is the type still rather. She gets nosebleeds. And like she would get them all the time. We couldn't, I mean, it was like the 90s. So we ain't know. I was like, okay, you know, but I had no idea it was correlated with stress. She was under a high amount of stress. And there were no, I don't think there were any programs that, at least if there were programs back then, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if you know that, where you would feel comfortable as a teacher asking for help and it would not be a reprimand against you. And how the level of stress, even if it's like, okay, mom has to come home and go to sleep. Okay, how that affects the family, how that affects children, your children, right? Because it's like we see the stress and I don't want to be around that. I still don't. So it's like I'll avoid you, like, okay, you go to sleep, you over here. And it took me a minute to realize, like, okay, it's not getting better. But that was her way of coping. And so my thing is, what hit me this year, what made me pivot in my business was we teachers need better coping skills. We all do. But in order to get better coping skills, we have to get this, that you can't pour from an empty cup, that you got to get those feelings out. You got to find your place. And then when we do that, it makes it easier for you to understand and accept, well, maybe I am burned out. Maybe I do need support. Maybe I do need professional development, right? Because sometimes we get into these spaces and we feel like, okay, one, there is no help. And two, if I ask for it, what does that make me look like? Because I know other teachers in my situation, they ain't doing it. Maybe some old schoolers and new schoolers telling me, why should I do it? So now I'm feeling more isolated. So my point in mental health and education is to deconstruct this whole I'm I can do it, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, and to understand there's support out there to give you the power of choice. That's where empowerment comes from. You can choose, right? So if there's someone here to help you, like Sabreen is here to help you with your professional development, I'm here to help you with emotional support. If you're like, okay, I don't want to do that, okay, fine, but know that they're out here. And if you choose to continue on the way you continue on, then that's just what you're doing. But I don't want any teacher to say the resources aren't out here to make a better choice for your life, to be a better teacher, to be a more understanding teacher. Because what I've come, well, I mean, we all hear it, right? Control what you can control. But how many of us don't? How many of us worry? How many of us try to push things to happen that are not in our control to happen? So my thing is that if you're burned out and things are going on, you need somebody to talk to, it doesn't feel like it, but you really can't control that. You just have to reach out. And to make that easy for you, make it easy for you to make that choice. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Yeah, I cannot have said it any better myself. We are here for you. Okay. We are in the business of service, and not just, coming from the knowledge that we have gained over our years, but even from the experiences. And we don't want, for some of our newbies in the field to be burnt out and be ready to run out early on the career, because it is a very rewarding career. It is a place, and I feel, for me, I always say it's ministry. Like, I absolutely love, I couldn't see myself in any other profession. But as Rhonda clearly stated, you all, it is so, so important that you do make self a priority. You do make yourself a priority. And if that looks like you having to have some professional help, whether it is professional help emotionally, like services from Rhonda, whether it is professional help as far as intellect or the occupation in itself, professional development, whatever it may be, from services like me, whatever it takes, you need to do what you need to get done. I can give a personal testimony, and I'm telling my business, but if anybody knows me, I love to clean. Like, that is like my thing. That's a de-stressor for me. But my time now, you all, I literally have to hire somebody to clean my house. And it took me a while to get there. I should have been there, but it took me a while to get there, because that is like, one, I'm like kind of a neat freak, kind of, sort of. I am, right, and I like my house to be cleaned in a certain way, and I like everything in a certain order, and I want it to be, but I knew to myself that I should have been outsourced that specific priority. That should no longer be a priority for me, because I am involved in so many other things. And if I'm busy, because they literally tell you, this is how meticulous I am. It takes me 2 days to clean my house, because I want to make sure, and upstairs alone is just what it really could take me 1 day, but I'm always breaking it up because I'm stopping to do something else constantly. And so when me and God I had to come to Jesus moment to say, girl, you need to stop. Like, you need to let somebody else do that. And y'all, when I found my house fairy, like I like to call her, I mean, she's absolutely amazing. It's like I had an opportunity to do stuff while she was in the house cleaning. And I was here planning content, starting my revenue mapping, strategic plan. Like, it's just mind boggling. And it's one of those things, people like, I don't have a budget for it. Like, if you gotta give up some hair, if you gotta give up getting your nails done, whatever
Right.
it takes, you all, because time
Absolutely.
is the most precious commodity we have here on earth. People may say money, people may say diamonds, whatever. I don't agree with that. It is time, because we never know when it's going to be done for us, right? We
Right.
never know because we all got an expiration date, and
Yeah.
I don't know mine. So in the meantime, I'm going to maximize my time. And so I challenge our educators, administrators, whether you're a school building administrator or a district administrator, invest in your people, but most importantly, invest in yourself.
Absolutely.
Because if you outsource and allow somebody else to help your people, that alleviates some of the stress on your people in your building. You want to think you may have a curriculum facilitator, you may have an instructional coach. You have this one person to these 50, 60,
Right.
some people have a staff of 100 and something people, when you could just outsource and
Mm-hmm.
just hire somebody else to come in and give them more intimate, more engaged, more hands-on. And not saying the people in your building are not doing that, but at the same token, can they give 100% to every single person there, right? Go ahead and tier your teachers, administrator, tier them. Your tier 3 teachers who really need that more intense and support, call us. Give us a call. We are here. And before the year is end, call us, because we have a year end special that you're going to want to know about. Okay. So we're going to put that information out there, but we just wanted to get on here and really share our hearts, some things that we want educators to hear, to know, as you are leaving 2024 and you're entering into 2025, as you are resting and reflecting, recharging and rejuvenating, preparing, so that when you take that first step into 2025, is go time. No more
Right.
holding back. No more, being a prisoner of your past. None of that. It is time
Right.
to go full force. Go ahead because you got the go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead because you got the go ahead. Just
Yes.
do it, y'all. Just do
Yeah.
it. Nike was prophetic when they said it. Just do it, like literally. So administrators, school leaders, district leaders, this is your opportunity to get in on this year-end special. You want to contact us, okay? You want to contact us, reach out to us, inbox us. I'll give you my number. I will put you in contact with Rhonda if you want her to come in and do professional development when we're talking about social emotional, specifically for your staff members, because your people are hurting. I'm telling you, I'm about to drop a video tomorrow about another story I heard from a teacher on
Mm.
professional trauma. And this one, y'all, I would say is sickening. It
Mm.
is so sickening what she told me. I literally told her I will fight her principal. God forgive me. Because it was just sickening. It was so disgusting what I heard. I said, and you haven't reported her to HR?
Mm.
That's a problem. And so I'm going to drop that story, that testimony she shared with me on tomorrow. But in the meantime, educators, teachers, principals, assistant principals, district leaders, HR, whomever, reach out to Rhonda because I'm telling you, your people are hurting. Your people are going through some things
Yes.
right now, personally and professionally. And the two are
Mm-hmm.
collided. And what happens when two
Yes.
forces collide? Right. You're going to have some type of combustion, like literally. And
You are.
so
You
I'm
are.
challenged
And
you
I mean,
all. Yeah.
I,
Go ahead.
mm.
Go ahead, Rhonda.
No, so again, so from the peripheral, this is what I'm talking about. Um, like getting personal, not personal, but again, we asked the teachers to raise money, and the teachers like, I can't do it. And what got me was the pain in their face. And I'm like, okay. And like, I'm sitting here like, it's okay. It's okay. But it's like, no, like, you want me to do this? It's like, okay. I was like, okay, I can't reach you. I'm not, and what I got in my head was like, I'm not trying to put pressure on. I know it sounds like it. And this is why I was like, I wanted to reach out because I was like, I don't want to be another factor putting pressure on you to be perfect, to get this done at this time. But you did the best. I kept saying you did the best you could. You did the best you could. No, I don't understand why it's like that. But and I had to keep saying you did the best you could. But I kept looking at them. And I know when people are like, well, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I could have done. And I was just like, I'm on the outside looking in. I am not an educator. I have not taught in a classroom. But when I saw the disappointment in those teachers' faces for basically what they felt was, you gave me something to do and I didn't do it. I said, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than this. And now, and I do feel this way, I said, I want those particular teachers to understand that you did the best you could. And I don't know if you've ever heard that. And I'm saying from my heart to yours, you're doing the best you can. Okay. And we want to see you do better. And we want to see you rest in doing the best you can. And we want to see you fight where you need to fight. And we need to see you rest when you need to rest. That's what we're here for. And in my heart, it's to let you know that you have an ally outside of teaching, right? Because I think it's so easy to think everybody thinks that the teachers, I don't know. I've always been around educators, so I don't know, right? I've seen the health effects. My mom still talks about to this day, she's 78. And just real talk, real talk. She talks about it like somebody who still teaches. And she's like, she's proud to be a teacher, but hated what she went through. And there's something about that that speaks to me. It really does, because it's like I feel like she missed out on her potential. And it made me wonder how many other teachers feel that way. And what can I do? What can I do as opposed to, It's just me. What can I do? So that when a teacher feels, I'll say this, what I felt in every school I visited. So know this is no guilt, this is no shame, this is just the reality. In a room full of teachers, I could feel it. I'll say, I could just feel sort of like, okay, what you got to say? But it wasn't, I took it personally. It was like, it's somebody else asking us for something that we really don't feel like we can fulfill. It's going to put, you know, more pressure on us. And I knew that. And I don't want, like I said, I want to do my part. I want to do my part. And the emotional toll that takes, like I said, I see it years later. So understand this, what we're doing here is not just talking, and we're not just here just to do whatever. What we're trying to do is prevent years and years of emotional trauma and emotional pain because it sticks with you, right? And to Sabreen's point, and I don't think anybody, I hope not anybody consciously does this, but if they do, I get it. Discourage, an older teacher maybe actually discouraging a younger teacher. And you may not be actually doing it straight up, but you may be saying things that when you say it to somebody who's new to the field, you're scaring them. It's reality. It's reality. But my thing is that we got to couple that, we got to buttress that with a level of support. Okay, but there's support out there.
Right.
This is what's happening here. This is what's going on. But there is a way that you can create the life that you want to create. And I'm not saying this to like hype us up. And we, Sabrina and I have different stories, and both in fields where it's like, you know, look, it's serious, right? And one of the things that from my mental health background is, yes, there's an idea, some, just getting into that a little bit. There's an idealistic, oh, that you can help people. This. You get into the thick of it, you're dealing with people with addiction, you're dealing with people with a whole bunch of things going on. And
Mhm.
the first thing you want to do is you peace out. No, I want, right? But what I've realized is that there's support there. And if you open your mouth and say, look, maybe like for educators, maybe the classroom just isn't it for me. Okay, but there are other ways that you can be in the education field. Let's figure that out, right? So you go to Sabreen for professional development. Maybe you figure out, like I said, the classroom isn't for you. Maybe you'll figure out it is, but now I have ways to deal with it. And then we talk to me, we have ways that are realistic. Okay. I'm not talking pie in the sky, that they're realistic things that you can do to get a hold of your emotions, right? So that we begin to again think proactively, right? As opposed to surviving and just reacting. Okay, this is happening again. No, right? Because that's not going to work, right? So it's important to get a hold of these things, because what I'm saying, just to cap it all off, is it sticks with you and it affects
Yeah.
those around you.
Yeah. Yeah. It sticks with you. So on that note, y'all, we thank you so much for joining us. I will make sure that you all receive a copy of this. For those of you who are unable to join us live, make sure you catch the replay, because we will make sure that this is posted. I will and we will both ensure that it's on our LinkedIn, it's on our Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and do some edits to it so you can have a clean version. And just thank you all so much for joining us on this afternoon. You all have been amazing, and we thank you. We want to say happy holidays. Enjoy this time with your family, with your friends, with yourself, right? Enjoy this time with yourself, with your friends, with your family, and happy holidays to you, Rhonda.
Yep. Happy holidays to you. And remember, gotta get my notes. Remember the gift of you. Okay. Recharge, refocus, prepare, because we're going into 2025, a brand new us.
Amen.
Thank you,
So
Sabrina.
y'all have an amazing Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you next time. Bye, y'all.